You asked for it. Here it is. It's a podcast from Apathetic Enthusiasm.
Coming to you live from the middle of the night. Brandon and Travis are taking naps, and we're going to do our own little episode. It'll basically be the same as any other episode. We like podcasting, and this is Interdimensional RSS, the unofficial Rick and Morty podcast.
For starters, there's no way I'm doing that gravelly voice the entire episode. Sorry, Brandon.
No problem, Travis.
Hello, everybody. I'm Travis.
Hey, everybody. I'm Brandon, and welcome to our show which celebrates everything Rick and Morty, from the unimportant to the very important. That's right. That's our new subtitle coming to you today. We premiered it today. We've been planning it for months.
Interdimensional RSS, from the important to the unimportant and everything in between. Interdimensional RSS.
International RSS, and let us know about all of the important and unimportant things over on our social media. Travis, you know how to find us, but maybe folks don't know how to find us.
They could be lost out on the interwebs, just searching relentlessly. No idea how to use a Google or a Bing.
No.
And so that's why we're here. We're here to help you out. If you want to find us, you want to connect, head over to Twitter at Rick and Morty Pod, over on Facebook, facebook.com/Rick and Morty Podcast, or over on Instagram, Rick and Morty Podcast. You can also email us your thoughts, your opinions, your beliefs, your ideas, your theories over at rickandmortypodcast@gmail.com. We're over on the internet. Reddit is the front page of the internet, and we are there. rickandmorty.reddit.com, or our subreddit, rickandmortypodcast.reddit.com. You can also find us, our actual show site is rickandmortypod.com. No cast. Nope. We're streaming live to you and all of you watching over at twitch.tv/apathetic enthusiasm. If you missed the live stream on Monday night, don't fret. It's okay. You can head over to youtube.com/apathetic enthusiasm. Like, subscribe, comment, do all those things over there. Catch video versions of all these podcasts. Maybe you love the show. Maybe you've been a long-time listener. You want to drop a couple of dollars in the virtual tip jar. Head over onto patreon.com/apathetic enthusiasm. And, support the show directly. Thank you to all of our patrons for your continued support. You're wonderful.
That's right. Yeah, to your continued support. You sought us out, and we can't thank you enough for that. Just like the Chicago song, I've been searching for so long to find an answer. You found the answer, and you found that answer within us.
At patreon.com.
Patreon.com. So yeah, I think we've got a stellar episode coming out.
There's no way to know, really.
There is really no way to know. But how's everything going with you? Everything good?
Things are fine. Things are good. Just Rick and Morty. We are right in the midst of a season now. It's the early excitement has worn off, and now we're just right in the grind, baby.
Yeah.
Week after week, episode after episode, and it's all good. We're having fun. I'm enjoying it. What about you? You feeling loose? You feeling excited to talk about this episode?
Nose to the Rick Stone, they say.
That is what they say all the time.
They've said it for years. Aristotle, I believe, is the first one to have mentioned it on his treatise on peace among men.
That's right.
Very, very, very good reading. I recommend it. But I'm excited. Things are going good. We'll talk more about it as we go.
Okay.
Whenever we decide.
Whenever we do things like, I don't know, have our first segment, which is and will always be semi-pertinent news.
Welcome to Semi-Pertinent News. That is right. We are talking semi-pertinently today. I apologize for the there's a lot of noise floor in there. I half-assed recorded it on the guitar, and I was like, fuck it, it's gonna have to be good enough because I'm not gonna do it again. Do it again. All right.
Great job. Great job
Here we go.
producing actual music.
Maybe
We'll keep them under 15 minutes moving forward.
Yeah, no, I had to edit that. Sorry.
That's right. It's a collaborative process.
Please go to Apple Podcasts and let me know in reviews how that works. Okay, so our first update, Multiverses update. This is a real quick one. If you haven't been playing Multiverses, a WB game with all the Warner Brothers properties, we've talked about Morty being a thing. The game is like Super Smash Brothers, so for anybody who knows what that is. Anyways, Morty's there. Rick is now officially on his way. I mean, he was officially on his way before, but there was a little teaser trailer not too long ago where Wonder Woman and Rain Dog, a character made just for the game, were fighting each other, and then all of a sudden a portal shows up, and then some Meeseeks start attacking, and then Rick comes through the portal. So he is coming soon. No release date quite yet, but it should be just right around the corner. So yeah, that's your Multiverse update. Great.
Yeah, I think it's important also that we share with the fans that while online you continuously just annihilate me at the game Multiverses, for some reason in person, when we're sitting on the same couch, I got the upper hand. I'm gonna say it. I don't know. Maybe you're going easy on me. You want me to feel good, like a guest in your home, but just I don't know.
Yeah, no, I can't explain why it is exactly when you're at my house, with a knife, right at your side. Why you
Let
somehow
me win.
My kid said that to me the other day. We were playing some game, and then he got upset because I beat him. He's like, "Can we play again? But just this time, let me win." No,
that's not how this works.
That's not gonna happen. But anyways, speaking of this isn't gonna happen, we're not gonna skip this next segment this week.
No way.
We are going to talk about the Reddit post of the week. This Reddit post of the week is brought to you by Pastor_Gains, and past or the O being as 0 and then an underscore gains. Anyways, the title of this post is "I haven't seen any love for the best joke of this season," sorry, best joke of last episode. It has 4.5 thousand upvotes, 472,000 views, 97% upvote rate, and received the Silver Award. And it is for Jerry when he's putting the jigsaw puzzle together of the horse, and he's working on that last little piece. It's the horse's eye. He's like rotating around, and he puts it in, and he goes, "Oh," and he's just so excited. That's it. That is what we got there.
Yeah, I think it was hilarious. There's a lot of comments talking about how it was hilarious, perfectly timed. I think there's just something about season 6. And some of the one-liners, some of the subtle jokes that they've thrown in for Jerry this season. I don't know. I mean, I don't know exactly how the writer's room works. If certain people like just pepper in ideas for certain characters, if it's 100% collaborative or what. But Jerry just feels like he's being written at a different level this season. Like,
yeah.
And just some of those, maybe they've just dialed in exactly the right amount of like not depressing, but like mediocreness for Jerry, so that it's just he's impressed by lame things, and he's a few seconds slower than everybody else. But this is definitely a great joke.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about Jerry a little bit later in the actual episode, kind of along those lines, because I think.
Yeah.
I honestly think, depending on how the season continues to go, I think we may end up talking about Jerry actually having like another Jerry deep dive episode. I'd
be down for that. Yeah,
I think it might be a good thing for the off season to do, maybe relook at all these characters up till season 6.
Yeah.
But anyways, congratulations to Pastor_Gains, and now we're moving on right through our semi-pertinent news over to our favorite segment, Travis, your favorite segment, your favorite musical number, the Dan Harmon Social Media Minute.
Social media. All right. That's it. So that's just
Good
percussion
rhythm.
today.
That's what it is. That's what you need. That's your problem, right? You're not a harmony. You're not a melody guy.
No, not a singing guy.
You're much more of like a offbeat clapping kind of like a syncopated rhythm guy. That's what you're looking for.
Could somebody check for me what the record is for how many musical disses somebody can have in an offhanded comment in one sentence? Just wondering for no particular reason. Anyway, Dan Harmon Social Media Minute. Here we go. Dan Harmon's over on Instagram, and this is a post from the last week. It is an image of an $80 Tyrant Razor V3 titanium utility knife. And the caption on this is what really sold me. Dan says that he scrolled price high to low on box cutters. It's tempting. I've always resented the way boxes sit on my porch, silently mocking me, flirting with Cody and their fancy box language that they invented to make me feel stupid. Well, who's stupid now, box? I've got an $80 box cutter. So answer me, who's stupid now? Oh, wait, what if it comes in a box? And there you go.
There you go.
$80 box cutter. That's 7-episode deal kind of money, or 70-episode deal kind of money.
Yeah. Sometimes when you go to like a store, you're like, should I splurge on the name brand or like the high quality, or you're like, no, like these, like for like new knives, new kitchen knives, right?
Sure.
There's part of you that wants to spend $1,000 on like really good knives.
Really good ones are gonna last you forever. You take care of them,
They're gonna last exactly. They might be a lifetime guarantee. But then you get to Sears, and you're like, you look at the knives, and you're like, man, I'm just gonna cut steak. I don't need fancy things.
I'm just chopping onions. This $14.99 set with no knife block should be fine.
Yeah. Or you're like, I don't need all new knives. I'll just get one. Like cut paring knife. That should suit.
I'll make it work. Anyway, that's the Dan Harmon Social Media Minute. Everyone follow at Dan Harmon over on Instagram if you want to see what he posts. And that's it. That is a very quick, succinct, semi-pertinent news this week, so that we have plenty of time to discuss this week's episode in a segment we like to call The Main Thing.
It's a main thing. There you go. I made that one shorter for you.
So
Travis.
edgy. I love it.
Yeah. I want to get some delay. Okay. Look, I don't need to comment on every song I do. Okay. It is now time for the main thing, everybody. That's right. It is season 6, episode 4, Night Family. Aired September 25th, 2022. Written by Rob Schrab. Directed by Jacob Hare. This is his 8th episode of Rick and Morty. Guest starring Rob Schrab. You can hear his voice out there. You can hear Tom Kenny, and you can hear Nick Rutherford. Schrab and Rutherford do the robots mainly, and Tom Kenny does Gene. The Bronopsis. Bruh. I'm scared. And our synopsis. This is actually our synopsis. I had the option to steal, but I didn't do it this time around.
Integrity first. Look at this guy.
Serves for self. Our synopsis. Who hasn't wanted a version of themselves to do all the mundane stuff?
I know I have.
I know.
Oh, if I could just take a nap and have somebody record this podcast for me. Am I right?
Am I right?
Am I right? Am I right? Hey, welcome to the podcast. Yeah, so we got us a Schrab episode, right? Yep. The last Schrab episode, where credited written by Rob Schrab, was the Planetina episode from last season. initial thoughts. You got the heads up that this was a Schraub episode. I think like the Friday before. Any expectations? Anything that you were hoping to see before the episode aired?
Well, as soon as I saw that it was a Schraub episode, I saw that it was Night Family, and then also the Brenopsis, which it's something that Adult Swim pushes out there for their synopsis for the episode.
Sure.
And you see it on Hulu and Amazon or wherever you see it. The Bruh, I'm Scared. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be interesting because it's Schraub. I know he's a big horror fan. Like he wrote a couple episodes for Creep Show. He's been into all that stuff over the years. So I'm like, okay, Monster House. Him and Harmon wrote the Monster House movie back in the day. And so I'm like, all right, yeah, I have high hopes, but I still kept them tempered a little bit. What about you as far as Schraub is concerned?
I mean, I get high expectations from a Schraub episode, and I think that the incorporation of Schraub on the actual writing staff for Rick and Morty is a highlight for me. I think going back and listening to Harmontown podcasts, and that was really my first like exposure to Schraub and Schraub's personality, and then seeing that play out through Dan's Instagram and different things. Just like his style of humor and his offbeat nature at times, I just get really excited because I'm interested to see what he's going to bring to an episode, what's going to be different. Yeah. And he brings a lot of himself into the material as well. So
yeah, and like the Planetina episode, I like that episode of season 5 a lot. It's not everybody's favorite episode. Some people actually put it at the bottom of season 5, which I disagree with personally. But yeah. It was different. It felt different from all the episodes of the series so far. It like just with character, it seemed different. And so I expected to feel something different coming into this episode, which in fact it did feel very, very, very different to other Rick and Morty episodes, being much more, as we kind of alluded to before, like horror themed.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, for those listeners that are not aware, I am not currently watching the episodes as they air. Right, I've purchased the episodes, so I don't get access to them until like much later in the evening. So when you're watching it live, I'll chime in from time to time. Hey, how's it going? What do you think so far? And you talked a little bit about it being a horror episode, and I was like, all right, right up Brandon's alley. This is his ball of wax, as it were. And obviously, like, Schraub has been a fan of horror for a long time. So the fact that he's the one writing this and pushing this genre, what did you think about the show kind of stepping away from the typical format, right? There's no A or B plot structure here. It's one contained story. But leaning into those horror themes and what jumped out to you that made this sort of highlight some typical things that you would see in a horror film?
Well, I mean, what was super cool to me, I mean, just to start off the episode with that title card, which just felt like a silent film, or even like a James Wan type of thing, or The Conjuring or whatever. Like to start off with like a creepy quote, with like the not the cigarette burns, but like the hair in the classic film. Yeah. When it talked about the sleep, knowing that it's a Night Family episode, like my initial thought was like it was going into like Cabinet of Dr. Caligari from I think 22 or something like that. German Expressionism, like this old ass film, talking about Somnambulist, which that's something that they refer to the machine as later on. I was like, okay, and then it cuts from that quote directly into like there's no music, it's just Beth in bed. Everything about the episode, not everything, but like a lot of the episode was very like the art, the way everything was framed the use of the shadows, the synth work, the music work with Elder. And I think they mentioned in the inside the episode wanted to do like a John Carpenter type the thing.
Yeah.
And it felt like that. It all really felt like that to me. It wasn't scary necessarily, but it had those elements.
Let's talk about that, because I put a comment in our first draft of the show notes where I was like, oh, yeah, it dips into this horror genre, but it wasn't very scary. And your response to me is, not all horror has to be scary. Our friendship is over.
And then I asked, are you baiting me? Are you baiting me? Is that what's happening? And your answer was yes. I am baiting.
I am. But let's talk about that, because for people maybe that either don't watch a lot of horror films or they're not as familiar with the genre, what do you mean by not all horror has to be scary? Or like what is it, other than people that just expect like horror to mean scary movies? What other aspects of the genre do you feel help define that and were maybe highlighted in the way this episode was produced?
Yeah, well, the thing about like horror films is like, even like watching Goosebumps as a kid or Are You Afraid of the Dark? Like some of those were scary, but some of them were clearly not, right? Some of them are just like suspenseful things. There's all these different subgenres. If you have a David Cronenberg, right, which falls within the body horror aspect of things. That's not scary. That's just like creepy and makes your skin crawl a little bit. Talking about John Carpenter, I wrote down The Thing. I wrote down Escape from New York. Sorry, that's not horror. That's just Carpenter. By the way, Escape from LA is kind of a horror film, but because it's, don't get me started on it. Okay. Prince of Darkness is a creepy movie, not out and out scary. And then In the Mouth of Madness, which is just this kind of like Lovecraftian, like just Cthulhu type stuff. And you could go the Exorcist route, or you can go I don't know, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which our kids love, right? Which is kind of more silly.
Yeah,
like it's everything in between. And so although this episode wasn't like out and out scary, things like Night Summer scraping that plate of crusty food into Rick's mouth and forcing him to eat it against his will, covering his mouth, his eyes watering, and him swallowing that is a horror thing.
Yeah,
right
no,
there.
For sure.
And
there's also
you got a reaction from it, right?
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, from the beginning, and it's something that of the horror films I've watched, right? And one of the things that I like is when there's like an early scare or something, or like something that gets the viewer like a little bit out of their comfort zone and not knowing what to expect, right? And so within, the beginning of the episode, before we even get to the title sequence, Beth goes downstairs because she can't sleep because, Jerry's snoring and things like that, goes to fall asleep on the couch, and then right into the frame, right? Like Rick's doing a sit-up.
The jump scare.
The jump scare. It caught me off guard. I was like, oh, okay, that's Rick. And that to me was like another bit of like a nod to that. Like, all right, we're not gonna set out to try and like scare you throughout this whole episode, but we're going to honor, those things that people love about horror movies, and still tell a funny Rick and Morty story while exploring all of those sorts of concepts. As the resident horror guy of the podcast, do you feel like they did a good job with the genre? Are you satisfied with it? Or, I mean, I don't think this certainly isn't the first time that they've touched on the genre, and I doubt it will be the last. But how do you feel like as an episode that leans all the way into it? Are you happy with how they did it?
Well, what I'm really happy with is that they stuck with the tone throughout the whole thing, right? They didn't.
Sure. Yeah.
They didn't. It never. Well, I'll say they never, just because that's the word I use. They never really go into like silly Rick and Morty stuff for the most part, right? Like they stick with it's horror. It goes maybe into like horror action a little bit towards the end there.
Yeah.
And then it has that like going back to John Carpenter, like where it doesn't really have a happy ending going into the credits. It's like it's a happy ending for the Knight family. It's not really a happy ending for the regular family.
The Choco Tacos.
So I reference like The Thing at the end of The Thing. Spoiler for a movie that came out in 1982. Woo, 40 years. Kurt Russell and Childs, who is in Rick and Morty, David, Keith David. They're sitting at the end and they're looking at each other in this burnt down little encampment in the Antarctic, and they're just looking at each other, suspicious of which one of them is or isn't the Thing, right? And that's how the movie ends. It's not a happy ending.
Sure.
Prince of Darkness, they're like, I think we just released the devil. In the Mouth of Madness, Sam Neill goes crazy, and Cthulhu takes over the world. There's not a happy ending too. So I love that they stuck with that. And then the Knight family went on vacation. And then the twist is that they go bankrupt. So
yeah.
So
classic.
So to answer your question, I really like that they stuck to their guns and didn't switch gears like midway through the episode, like I'll say like Sex Slut Dragon episode did, where it started one thing and then there was a jutting kind of split there, and then they went a completely different direction.
Sure.
I'm glad they didn't do that for us.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Beyond the horror themes, there's some other themes that are apparent throughout the episode. One of those things is Summer's latent resentment for Rick. There's an argument that could be made that her, even though it's not on the surface, and for most of the series we felt like Summer has really looked up to Rick. There's something deep down in Summer that makes her resent him or dislike the fact that Rick can be very dismissive of Summer and Morty, really, but mostly with her. And that plays out in the Knight version of Summer, who ends up being the quote-unquote big bad of this episode as the one sort of in charge of the Knight family. What did you think about that direction that they took the episode, and did you find Summer to be a convincing villain?
I did. So to answer that last question first, yes, I did. It was interesting go in the social media space, Instagram. We should have a Spencer Grammer social media minute. Not going to, but we should.
We should give her some of Dan's time, because she's out here sharing reels of recording sessions and stuff.
It is very semi-pertinent. But she showed some video of her doing pickups, doing re-recordings, and she also talked about like this being, if not her favorite, like one of her favorite episodes of the season. So with that information, kind of armed with that information, knowing it's a scary episode going into it with Schraub, I kind of was expecting this to be a Summer heavy episode anyway, and so I was looking for that more so going into it. And so I thought it was pretty successful to have her become the big bad, so to speak. I watched it 3 times total. I paid more attention the second time around, even more attention the third time around. Third time after I'd watched the inside of the episode, to be like, okay, I see what Schraub is talking about with, like, your night person is different from who your day person is. Sure. And so going back to that whole aspect of season 1, episode 6, where Rick says your opinion means very little to me, to Summer, and then that callback of Summer's Night Summer saying that to Rick, being like, Rick's version of him at night very much respects Summer's opinion, which is exactly how she was able to take control of him.
Yeah.
Which is not necessarily something that's expressly said in the episode itself, but you then pick up those pieces and start to infer that from all that information.
The season premiere this season talks about the Jerry Baree, and Rick has a meta line saying, "Ooh, deep cut" or something, right? Most of us know of or can easily remember the Jerry Baree. Did you pick up on that? Your opinion means very little to me. Like that, I did not pick up on that until after the Inside the Episode, when I was like, oh, shoot, yeah, that is a callback to 10 years ago.
It is. I did not pick up on that. In the live chat, in the discussion post over on Reddit, I didn't see anybody else pick up on that. Yeah. I'm not saying it didn't happen because there's a lot of folks posting there, but I didn't really notice anybody notice that, which, I think it's incredible that they went all the way back to season 1 to come up with like a little bit of a character arc or progression in season 6 from like a really throwaway line.
We talked about it with the premiere again, but I think the show is doing a lot more, and maybe there's more rewatches in the writer's room or something, but going back and really exploring the show all the way back to the first season and doing a lot more of that internal referencing to build those threads, to connect those dots between early episodes and what we're seeing now. Just a kudos to the writer's staff for putting that together, for pulling that line and giving that meaning to a moment where it is a big reveal that summer is not summer, but it's night summer pretending to be summer. The big twist of that episode, yeah.
and they foreshadow that moment early on in the episode when Rick first introduces a somnambulator, where they all want their night people, and he's like, no. And then she starts giving him the silent treatment. And he's like, what is it? Like, no, nothing. Tell me what it is. It's foreshadowing the fact that he does care about her opinion.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very, very clever thing. If you go back and rewatch that moment, like, okay, that's they're setting the seeds up there to show that change.
Very good. One other big theme from this episode: rinse your dishes. Just it takes 2 seconds.
Rinsing dishes is important. I rinse my dishes before I put them in the dishwasher.
Sure.
I don't know how many other people do that. Maybe we should take a poll.
We should, yeah. Make sure to respond over at Rick and Morty Pod over on Twitter. Let us know your dishes preparation procedures.
Mm-hmm.
We're a pre-dishwasher rinser family as well. Even though Big Dish, right? They tell you don't rinse your dishes, just put them right in there. Let the detergent do the work.
I don't trust the detergent. I don't trust. And the other
this
part
is why we're in a drought in California, Brandon.
It is very, very true. And the thing is though, right? You put your dish in, and it's got food, and it's like, don't rinse your dish, just put it in there, and then we'll wash it. But then it sits in there because you're like, but the dishwasher's not full, and so I'm not gonna
makes it harder to wash off.
I'm not gonna run the dishwasher with like 2 plates in there. So like, let me just rinse the dish off, put it in there, and then eventually when it is full, then I'll run the entire dishwasher on a 30-minute cycle, not a long cycle. I don't need a long cycle, just a 30-minute cycle because I already washed them.
Yeah, they barely even have to be clean at that point.
Yeah.
So.
Anyways, okay, all right.
Yeah. All right, moving on. One last thing. Oh, go ahead.
I want to introduce this, Travis. I want to introduce this thought. Right. We talked about the horror concept. We talked about kind of the camera work, the audio. The episode feels different. So I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about this kind of different feel of the episode? Do you think it works? And do you, even if it doesn't work, do you want to see episodes? Do you want to see them take more risks like this?
Yeah, I think the episode does work. I think it's about expectation management a little bit, right? Like, you go out to the dance floor, you know all your steps, and then your partner, throws something wild at your face, and you're not ready. You're not ready for it. But then you're like, oh, I see what we're doing. You move with it. You're having a great time, right?
Guilty as charged.
Yeah. Just one of these things or whatever. Anyway, so we as people that cover the show relentlessly, we've watched episodes numerous times before talking about them. I think there is a level of expectation for us in an episode that there's going to be an A-B plot. It's probably going to reference some sort of pop culture thing. There's going to be some sort of adventure, and there's just there's certain notes, right, that you expect to hear in a Rick and Morty episode. And when they diverge from that, it can be jarring at first. But these also end up being, I think, some of our favorite episodes over time, whether that's a vat of acid and I don't know, interdimensional cable is something we always go back to, but that follows some of those same story arcs, but then also moves away from some of the other ones.
Yeah.
Rick Lantis Mix-Up is another example of something
yeah.
where they go in a very different direction than what we're expecting, but it really pays off. And I think this was a cool, I don't know, experimental version of an episode. Do I want every episode to be this? Not really. But I think one or two over the course of a season is a nice way to break up the feel of a season and allow the writers, not just the writers, but the directors, the entire staff, the animators, the voice actors, to do something different, experiment, be creative, and produce an episode that you may not have normally gotten if you just stuck to a strict set of rules.
Right on. That's the right answer. And if this were a test, you would be certified. You've got your Rick and Morty
got my Rick and Morty certification. Add it to my LinkedIn.
Yep. For the Rick and Morty Institute. Now you just have to pay your dues. You got your continuing educations.
Got my continuing education units through season 6 and 7 that I gotta maintain. So
yeah. So a couple things that we noticed, that we're gonna get into our favorite bits here in a second. A couple things noticed in the chat, here in the Twitch chat, also on the discussion post. There was a lot of reference to both Jordan Peele's movie Us, because there are the others in that film. So that was one kind of reference. A lot of reference to the Apple TV show Severance with Adam Scott. Now, I have not watched Severance. Travis, I don't think you've watched Severance.
I haven't watched it. I'm familiar with the premise, but I have not, unfortunately, gotten to watch the show yet.
So I'm not going to spoil anything, but I did read basically what was going on with that show. So there's some similar stuff going on. A lot of folks are being like, oh, obviously this is a Severance episode. What I will say to that is, especially on the inside the episode, Harmon and Shara both allude to him coming in very early on. He came in, season 4? And being like, hey, we should do a horror themed episode. And that's a long time ago. That's 2019, which is, it might be around the same time that Severance was starting to go into production. It just happens to be an Ant Z, a Bug's Life, or a Volcano, Dante's Peak situation, where it just happens to be they come out at the very, very similar time. Because, hey, in animation especially, you can't just be like, oh, unless you're South Park, something just came out, I want to spoof that.
Sure.
So I just want to point that out. I think Us may be the closer one in that case.
And most of season 6 has been written for a long time, considering they're on season 8 that they're writing right now. So
that's fair, Travis. That's fair.
A lot of lead time in these. All right, so those are sort of the thematic elements that were up for discussion. Anything else with the overall theme before we get into some of the specific bits that we enjoyed from the episode?
No, I think we covered everything. Maybe not everything, but we covered a lot of stuff that I think was important for us to cover in the episode. Yeah. The importance of make sure you talk to your family and friends about what their latent resentment might be for you, and express your latent resentment for them, Travis.
Yeah, while doing the dishes. All right, let's get into our favorite bits. Bits. You mentioned that title card at the very beginning, right? Yeah. You were saying it was an homage to what? To what movies?
Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Okay. Here's what I got out of the title card. Is I was getting Monty Python and the Holy Grail vibes, right? Because it starts very dark and sinister, right? This like intense quote, and by the time you get to the third sentence, it is nonsense, and it's talking about hoo-haws or something. It's talking about and then T.S. Eliot.
The quote is this: "When you're alone in the middle of the night and you wake up sweaty and scared as hell. When you're alone in the middle of the bed and you wake up like someone hits you on the head. You had a nightmare dream." There's something about cream in there, right? And you have a hoo-ha. I copied and pasted this from a site that got it wrong. Yeah. But anyways, it talks about like you have a nightmare cream or something like that. Yeah. And you have a hoo-ha. So it goes crazy. It goes like, whoa, okay, all right. It gets kooky.
A little off the rails right at the beginning.
But that is an actual T.S. Eliot quote from one of his like series of poetry.
Like that whole thing is an actual credited T.S. Eliot quote?
Yeah. It's actually something he wrote way back.
That's hilarious.
Wow, okay. And we all know that T.S. Eliot is responsible for what is the crowning achievement of pop culture in the 20th century, and that's Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cats, because he was the one who created, this whole cats and
Jellicles do what?
Jellicles do. Jellicles can because Jellicles do. Jellicles do because Jellicles can. Yeah. Okay. Which is very horror-esque in itself.
That last line is, "You've had a cream of a nightmare dream."
That's right. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. All right. So we get that we get that initial title card, and then it drops us right into the episode. Beth and Jerry are in bed. Jerry's snoring, and what seems like the most Schraub of ideas, and I apologize to any of the writers if they came up with it first, but Beth decides she's going to count sheep using her sheep counter app, and the app literally just has a sheep jump into the screen, and then you type 1, enter. It's just the most nonsensical app, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was
that has to be on the App Store by now if it's not already.
Oh, I should search for sheep counters.
Yeah. I mentioned the T.S. Eliot quote. I love that a little bit later in the episode, Jerry comes out saying like, "Ooh, and I got the hoo-haws." Just calling back to that quote there. I love the background and callbacks throughout the episode. Obviously your opinion means very little to me, but also in the chase scene, you wrote this down. The Yuto truck is on the freeway.
Yeah, like a very premiere episode callback with Yuto. So
yeah. Something I noticed on initial watching, and then I paused it through the subsequent rewatches, was when they're in Rick's room, he has a bunch of stuff hung on his wall. Among those are I don't know if they're supposed to be like portraits or if they're like hand drawn, but we see Mr. Meeseeks, we see Prince Nebulon from the episode where they're in a simulation of a simulation.
Yeah. Is it Zargerians or something? Or
yeah, the Zygerians.
Yeah. Zygerians. Yeah.
And then Dr. Xenon Bloom is also up there on the wall. I think there's one more character. I forget which one it is, but
they're just all like kind of like strung together with like conspiracy theorists reckless abandon. Rick's room is a very weird sort of exploration of the character as well. Something else from Rick's room that I put in my favorite bits is his rooster alarm clock, which has a little chamber. An egg falls out of the top. It immediately grows into a rooster, which crows, turns to ash, and then is flushed out of the bottom. What was interesting to me is upon rewatching the episode, at the beginning of it, in the first morning scene, as they're doing like an establishing shot on the house, you can hear a rooster crow to signify that it's morning, but then you can subtly hear the like kind of like burning ash falling away sound afterwards, which you would never pick up on on first viewing, but seeing that scene later, to me, that is just an amazing little detail that they add in there.
Yeah, for sure. I when they are now with the Day family are slaves to the Night family, and Beth is burning all the movies, I didn't quite get the gag the first time. Like, okay, what is the significance of the one that she saved? And then upon rewatch, okay, got it. She's burning all of the movies with the word day in them, and she saves Talladega Nights.
So Independence Day, Groundhog's Day, hold on to that, Talladega Nights. But Ferris Bueller's Day Off, you're in the fire. Sorry,
gotta get rid of
it. Can't have it. This was Lobster Boxers. Yeah, it's what's the AB podcast, right? Okay, so we're gonna talk about this for a second. From the trailer for the series, Brandon and I have been looking forward to whatever Rick and Morty are podcasting about. Obviously, Rick and Morty meets podcasting is sort of, near and dear to our hearts. So the entire scene, they're podcasting in the garage, which I love because we started our podcast in a garage of all places. The ad read was hilarious. The fact that they're not whores, because he's not going to say wubba lubba dub dub, but they're reading like a cheesy, ad read for these boxer shorts.
My shorts even have the raccoon man from that one movie,
Chewbacca. I love Chewie, but I want to only refer to him now as the raccoon man from that one movie.
You know what's great about that little ad read is that seems like such a perfect encapsulation of what an ad read is like when you're reading off a script and you're trying to be like funny but still be corporate because you're selling a product.
Yeah.
Like, not to give, maybe I will give us credit. Like, that's something stupid that we would say, like saying Chewbacca. Like, it's a low hanging fruit of a joke to say, I know who you're talking about. You're thinking of Rocket Raccoon, but I'm gonna say a different furry animal, Chewbacca, right? Anyways, throwing this out there, it's also the second time we've referenced Chewbacca and Rick and Morty. That's right. Jerry and Sleepy Jerry. You want to go see
Chewbacca? Yeah, Chewbacca's getting a lot of love in this show. All right, we talk about the alarm clock. We mentioned this a little bit earlier, but that subtle silent treatment manipulation that the family gives Rick in order to force him into turning them into night people. It's just interesting to see how much Rick can be manipulated by the family and how like aware they are that they have the power to get him to do what they want him to do if they play their cards right. I just think that's funny.
And then shoving food down his mouth, and then him eventually throwing up and saying, "Baby Jesus, baby Jesus, oh, baby Jesus."
Once they get their night people powers, their night family powers, Summer decides to use her extra time to learn Spanish and get really good at Spanish. Mm-hmm. She's not great at Spanish. Her her pronunciation for certain vocabulary words is a little bit off.
Presidenta.
Well, it's just like off enough, right? It's the right amount of like not completely using the wrong words, but still like maybe that high school level Spanish is what you're working with.
Yeah. That Night Summer is just as lazy about learning Spanish as Day Summer is. A cool little gag. Let's see. Just bad Spanish. The real quick thing, like in that same scene, Morty being like, "Hey, can I show you? Want to see something?" And then him unzipping below camera, and
the way that they frame that shot, like it's perfection.
Yeah. But it's his bowling ball out of his bowling bag. As a Terry Gilliam fan, I'm glad that you talk about Monty Python. Terry Gilliam being right there, referenced Night Summer covered in all this Terry Gilliam when he's like, it's uncomfortable. He's like, it's supposed to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, is it like steel wool that it's made? Like I couldn't tell. Like, and then she's got like the
sweater,
the dew quill mashup, the things holding her eyes open,
high heels.
Yeah.
It was like
very bizarre.
Like a mix of like, because he did Brazil, he did Time Bandits, 12 Monkeys is the other one, right? So like, it's very uncomfortable. The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. Oh, it's all over there.
Let me pick those up for you real quick.
Look, I'm just saying, you're like, what has he directed? Monty Python stuff. He does all the animation pieces, and he's not British. That's the strangest fucking thing. Anyways, okay.
The non-Brit of the Pythons.
Everyone get behind my abs.
The way Morty loves his abs in this episode, it's like a one gag for Morty, but he uses it throughout the whole episode, and it's pretty solid. Right after that, as they're huddled in the corner, probably a good minute and a half after the reveal that it's actually Night Summer. Jerry gasping, "She's Night Summer," and a thank you, Jerry, from Beth right before they get pummeled with tranquilizer darts.
There's one last favorite bit in here. I'm gonna let you say it because I'm gonna say this for my next. I want to say this for the next little segment. Go ahead.
Okay, well, for me, when Summer jumps out of the perfectly good cop car and it careens off the road, it first hits a gasoline storage or something, then a dynamite museum, followed finally by dry leaf storage, which has the biggest explosion of anything, and just seems like a really irresponsible set of buildings to keep all on the same block. But I thought it's just one of those like overt Schraub, silly, stupid things that's just like, all right, if a gasoline plant wasn't bad enough and a dynamite museum wasn't a step further into absurdity, dry leaf storage is the pinnacle. So
yeah. Mulch is also what it's known as. Okay, so those are some of our favorite little bits. Some of the other worst parts of the episode. You mentioned the dry leaf storage, the gasoline factory, and the TNT. I'm actually going to put those. We haven't talked about worst parts in a while in the show.
Sure.
A little bit earlier, I talked about like they never kind of stray away from that tone of the horror film. There's a couple parts that do get away from it a little bit for me. That is this part with the gas TNT and dry leaf factory.
Yeah.
And also the part where Night Summer gets launched into a bunch of cardboard box. Some guy selling cardboard boxes in the middle of the night. So like those things are like Simpsons-esque gags to me.
Okay.
And those felt out of place for even like a regular Rick and Morty episode. They felt.
I kind of relate them a little bit to, like season 4 or season? I think it was season 4 where Rick and Morty are fighting the president and they're going through like the basement of the White House, and they're like running through there, chasing each other, and like you see like the moon landing and all this like random like conspiracy theory type stuff. It's just these like quick one-off gags where, yeah, they're not like important to the story, but it's an opportunity to just throw some jokes out there throughout this process. And so yeah, it does divert from the horror theming a bit, but for me, I got a chuckle out of both of those things that you mentioned, so I liked it.
Yeah, it seemed like a weird gag placement from an otherwise great episode.
What did you think about them not once but twice driving under the swing set and missing the children that were in mid swing?
No, I like that. I like that part because the kids were just so happy about it. They just kept swinging away, and I'm like, oh, look at them, oblivious to the realities and horrors of this world.
The horrors, yes.
The fact that Jerry is a pen pal with himself. This is something that we should have talked in the main thing, and we talked about very early in the episode about wanting to talk about Jerry. I think we talked about it in Semi-Permanent News. Is like they are writing him lamely, but in such a they're not making fun of him anymore. They are, but they're not, right? They're like, see, he's stupid, he's dumb, but guess what? Like he is resolving issues in Jerry-esque ways that are saving the family. So it's so sweet to have him be the one like you're using your night self to be a pen pal, and that's what gets them out of this situation.
It just speaks so much to the character of Jerry, though, right? Like, who's so desperate for friendship and meaningful companionship that he's like, I'm just gonna write to the other version of myself, and we'll both have someone who likes each other, right? But the fact that like that results in a version of Night Jerry who has empathy and feels for the Knight family to the point where he's willing to sacrifice himself to help them out and help them escape. It's really funny to me how that plays out as they're doing all of the switching back and forth between the night and day versions of themselves, and Morty just starts like instinctively beating up Night Jerry, and he's like, I'm on your team, like I'm on yours, and he's like, oh yeah, that's right, you're one of us. So
and like going back again, Schraub saying like how is a person different from their night version, and we see that Jerry is essentially who Jerry is who Jerry is at night. At day, he's a good person who is not the smartest tool. He cares, but he's not necessarily competent, and I think that's a great way to really show like he is who he is. You're getting what you get. Jerry rocks, unapologetic Jerry.
This could potentially end up being a Jerry season. Like we may look back at this and really look at how much Jerry's been featured, and I'm curious to see how much he is or isn't utilized throughout, the rest of the season too. But, yeah. All right. We talked about your opinion meaning very little to me. That season 1 callback. Talked about the Raccoon Man from that one movie, Chewbacca. So those are some of our best and worst parts. That is our thoughts on the episode. But there's people in our Twitch chat, people that are going to be listening to this online later. We want to know what you think. Make sure to chime in, comment on the video if you're watching on YouTube. Leave us a review or hit us up over on Twitter. Let us know your thoughts. Did you like this episode? Did you like that it was a departure from a typical Rick and Morty episode? Or did you not get it? Or was it not a favorite? I know some folks in the chat, I think Omar saying that this was one of his favorite episodes of the season. So I mean, we're basically getting a semi-perts here. So artificial transition not semi-perts. Listener suggestions. But Nikki Chuck, longtime listener, first time chatter over on Twitch, agreeing with you that those Simpsons-esque bits felt out of place. but saying that this was the best Jerry episode, and that they finally had to stop rolling their eyes at Jerry and appreciate his utility. Yeah, I'm hopeful that, because there is a lot of Jerry hate, right, out on Reddit and on social media. I don't know. We're kind of Jerry apologists on this show, and and appreciate him for what he is. So yeah, I like that he's getting a little bit more appreciation in this season.
We talk about it throughout our podcast over the years, where we compared ourselves to characters, and we we're like, like you were always associate yourself with Jerry. Everybody wants to be a Rick, right? But then going into season 3, season 4, everyone realizes, maybe that's not really who any of us are. Like, we shouldn't strive to be that.
Yeah.
If anything, we're all a Jerry.
Sure.
And to kind of appreciate that we're all stupid in our own ways, and we're all cowards, and we're all strong, and we all love and care about things in our own different ways. Even if it on the outside looks like I'm a virgin on Facebook holding a golden head, right?
Shout out to whoever posted that about you. One additional short out that I have from Twitch, Pins Pants. Thank you for following over on Twitch. Appreciate it so much. Also, have a good day, Face. Thanks for being in the chat, even though you don't watch this show. Yeah, any other short outs you got?
I think I do. I did not write them down. So anybody who's Peace Among Ricks always hits us up on Instagram. She actually hit us up on Sunday before and sent the link to Spencer talking about her being excited about playing this character tonight. On this last episode. Of course, Scary Terry, Chase out there on Twitter always hitting us up too. So had nothing specific necessarily from them. Sorry.
We just love you guys. You guys are all awesome. Thank you.
Okay, bye. Anyway, that's all.
If you want to short out, just say hi. Say hi at any of those links that we said at the top of the show, or leave a comment. But you're all awesome. We really do appreciate all of you. I can't believe this next episode will be episode 5 of the season. Already almost the halfway point for season 6. So I don't know. The days are long, but the years are short, Brandon, as they say with raising children and watching Rick and Morty. So yeah, thanks. T.S. Eliot said that. So that's our show. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We're going to go hang out and do a Twitch-only post show right now if you want to be a part of that. Hang out on Twitch Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. And until next week, I'm Travis.
And I'm Brandon. Thank you so much for listening.
Bye.
We'll see you later.
Rinse your dishes.
The schmuck crusts up or whatever.